You're listening to the Cricket Podcast.
Hello everyone and welcome to the Cricket Podcast, where today we're going to be doing our big series wrap-up of England v India, the 4-match test series that gripped the world until it was ignominiously called off just as it was about to reach its denouement. We'll then go on to talk about the World Cup, the T20 World Cup squads, that is. We've got squads in from everyone now, I think, lads. So we will take a look at some of the big names there, some of the key emissions, what's going on in Afghanistan, and more. Before we finish with Matt Hayden as the new Pakistan coach. That's not a statement I thought I'd ever make. To be honest, but it's true. It is true. Matthew Hayden is the new Pakistan coach. Before we get into all of that, though, boys, we need to deal with the big news of the day. I don't know how closely you two follow Cameroonian women's cricket.
I mean, I always look at it. It's one of the most important things of my day. Actually.
Religiously, I think is the answer. Yeah,
it's second only to Ugandan women's cricket.
Yeah.
Well, that's convenient, isn't it?
It is convenient because the big news of the day is that Maeva Duma, a Cameroonian women's player, has become the first cricketer in the world to pick up 4 wickets via the Mankad in an international, an African World Cup qualifier, I think, against Uganda. In stunning scenes, it reduced the Ugandan innings from a dominant 153 for 1 in the 16th over to 186 for 6. She picked up 2, 3, 4, and 6 in the batting order. Ross, as death bowling performances go, that's right up there with the greats, isn't it?
Well, you can't turn your nose up at that. What I liked was that not only did they not learn the lesson from like the first time that she did it, it obviously happened 4 times, but also her celebration. So when she was doing it, she was into it. She was just like, yeah, I deserve this wicket. Like, fair play.
Yeah. I mean, it's one of those times. I think Mankad should be credited to the bowler. That should be a 5 for it. It shouldn't be 1 for 32. That should be 5 for 32. One of the all-time legendary bowling performances from a Cameroonian. Max, my question for you is: how many Mankads is too many Mankads?
Definitely 4, probably 1.
Is that because of the spirit of the game thing, or?
No. I mean, it's well. I mean, if it happens to you 4 times, I don't think anyone can talk about spirit of the game so much as absolutely stupid batting. But you know what can happen to you. You might maybe 1. Maybe 1 is kind of like an acceptable level, but anything more than that, once you know it's happening, it's very easy to stop.
It is pretty easy to stop. It didn't help them much. They lost by 155 runs, which, as T20 defeats goes, is bad. But she's had her day in the sun, so fair play. Ross, what are the messages for the listeners before we get into this series wrap up?
We are sponsored by Woodstock Cricket, so if you want any cricket gear, go to their website and use the code TCP25 and get 25% off. I've had loads of people get in touch with me around Woodstock, actually, around getting cricket bats and all that kind of stuff. So use the code and enjoy. We are also on Twitter and Instagram at the Cricket Pod. You should follow us on both. That's what we're doing, and like and subscribe to our YouTube channel. Yeah.
The road to 10k. It starts here. I don't know what are we now, nearly 8k, 2k more. So tell all your friends, set up loads of fake accounts. The road to 10k. It begins today. Get involved with that. And patreon.com.
Do we do a prize or something like that for a big campaign for the 10,000th subscriber?
Yeah, we don't know what the prize will be, but we'll give someone a prize when we get to 10k subs. That's the mission. And patreon.com/the cricket pod. If you want to become a patron, we've got some Patreon questions today, which we will fit in at some point. Series wrap up, England v India. It was fun while it lasted, Max, and it was sad when it ended. Do you want to quickly refresh our memories with a hopefully nautical themed summary of the series?
No, we don't want to overdo the thematic summaries because they only come along once in a blue moon in my mind. So let's not put too much pressure on me. But yeah, we all started the series thinking that it would probably be a bit of a walkover for India. Maybe England might be able to scrape something together. But in terms of narratives for the series, it sort of started as it ended, didn't it? With premature curtailment. The first test looking like it was heading one way, then the other, and by the end, it was looking like a reasonably comfortable chase for India on the final day before rain decided that we wouldn't finish cricket. So that was the first bit of cricket ending before we wanted it to, and then we moved to Lords, didn't we? And cricket also ended before we wanted it to, but that wasn't to do with any meteorological impacts. That was just England being completely hopeless. I mean, we should attribute some credit to the Indian
From
bowlers.
India's point of view,
they were quite
at the
good.
right time.
Yeah. From a cricket point of view, it ended before it should, because all England had to do was bat for half a day, and they failed miserably on a not really very bad pitch. Especially after they dragged themselves back into the game after a ridiculous opening partnership between KL Rahul and Rohit Sharma. So that was some early finishes there. Then we had a break from the early finishes. England came back and actually. No, there was an early finish, wasn't there? It was India's first innings was finished very early because England decided that they were going to be very naughty in the cloudy skies, and Kohli would have been regretting winning the toss for the first time in a blue moon, and England came storming back, only for India to then come back again once more with the ball reversing, some reverse swing at the oval, which we like to see, didn't we? We enjoyed Bumrah being pretty much unplayable, hooping the ball around at 90 miles an hour. At least that's what England's batsmen will tell you. And maybe a lack of being Joe Root might have put paid to some of the English batsmen, but a pretty stunning comeback from India there. And then actually, I don't want to finish, so I'm going to stop.
Right. Well, like all good stories, our deep analysis of this series will begin at the end with some boring legal stuff. So where Max's summary ends, I suppose I can take over. Basically, the situation, and Nakul and I went into the detail of the sort of what happened on the last show, so go back and listen to that if you've been in a cave. Basically, what's going to happen now is that the ICC are going to make a call on whether the game was cancelled or forfeited. Now, that is exciting because of the implications. Who's aware of the implications?
One means that England get the opportunity to claim their 40 million loss in insurance, and the other means no, they can't.
Yeah, that's what's happening now. So there's going to be a legal determination by the ICC about whether the game was forfeited or not. I think possibly about the reasons for the forfeiture as well. The ECB in the last few days have been desperately briefing everyone that the game wasn't called off because of COVID. It was called off to protect the mental health of the Indian players. We'll see what happens with that. On the one hand, England will lose 30 million quid. On the other, they will be 30 million quid up. We're also expecting there to be another test match added to the calendar next year between England and India. I don't know if you saw today, Sourav Ganguly said that this would constitute the fifth and final test match. Max. Are you excited for the potential conclusion of the world's longest series?
I think we'll have all forgotten. Well, England will have an entirely new team by then anyway, so I'm not sure. I'm not sure you can badge it as part of this series. I imagine India will have an entirely new top four as well. So top five. I don't believe Mr. Ganguly, and I don't think that's how it will be badged, is it? If it does happen, I seem to recall them saying that it will be a standalone test match, whatever happens.
Yeah, they flip-flopped, so now they want it to be a match again,
right?
All part of this series again. I mean, by the by, it's all by the by.
They've also said two T20s, haven't they? They've also thrown that in.
Well, yeah, I mean, it's basically we'll be playing India forever, which is good for our mission to 10K, but bad for diversity,
variety.
Yeah. Does anyone think there's a satisfying conclusion from this that can actually, happen? I mean, obviously everyone's sad that the test is off, and lots of fans have lost money. We don't get to see the conclusion of what would either have been an absolute statement win from India or a miraculous, semi-miraculous fight back from England. Ross, is there something that you would enjoy? 2 extra T20s, does that float your boat?
Not really. International T20 cricket, other than the World Cup, is pretty dull on the most part. I'd much rather watch some franchise cricket. But I think from my bit, I know when you kind of Nicole talked through it, I'm of the opinion that you can't set a horrible, naughty precedent for this. And by this, I mean that there is a piece where you can't just be 2-1 up in the series and then go, do you know what? I'm pretty scared that some of our guys can get COVID. And then they just go off into the distance. Like that's been pretty much like the outrage, and I can appreciate that view, but at the same time, like it's just cricket, lads. Like it's 2-1. We were going to lose 3-1, so I'm not too fussed. If I'm perfectly honest, I'm in the camp of just do whatever needs to be done to actually save some money in the cricket. Like England have unfortunately spent a load of money on bonuses for the ECB executives. Got to get it back into grassroots cricket somehow. So,
Max, I mean, is there a resolution that satisfies you? Do you think that India have run away when they should have played?
I think they were. I kind of think they were within. I don't know about within their rights, but I completely understand the reason for running away. And people will say, "Oh yeah, the IPL."
We're just going to go with running away.
Running away is what it's called.
India ran off.
We always have to remember our sarcasm doesn't actually translate very well on this true, or on podcast. So
no, I'm serious. They ran away.
I mean, people are, start blaming the IPL and that sort of thing, but it's not like the IPL has just sprung its head out of nowhere, is it? It was always a ridiculously short turnaround for getting back, and I think there's this sense that they were all being treated by the same physio who got COVID. So I think it's a fairly understandable fear that they all ended up getting it, and probably thought, well, let's get on a plane and get back to the UAE just in case we do suddenly test positive in 3 days so that we're not stuck in England for 2 weeks. And I think that's completely reasonable, to be honest.
We do have to remember, Max, though, there's no other physios available in the UK. So there's no actually sports physios actually available at all, is there, that could have been brought in?
Well, that's not the issue, is it? Because they've already been treated by the man who tested positive for COVID, and
I'm doing every argument that I've seen on Twitter that just kind of falls apart.
Right,
every single.
Yeah.
There's one talking about how now they have to quarantine when they get to the UAE. So they've done the maths, and it's just didn't take any consideration into the fact that they've put in that quarantine because there might be a potential outbreak. That every single thing is based upon the old stuff. The arguments about it.
Yeah, it's really circular. Pathetic, it's very circular.
I also liked some people flagged up the Ravi Shastri book launch, which was dumb. Let's be honest. Let's call that what it was. That was a dumb idea, and the Indian team allegedly not telling the ECB that was going to happen. Did you know the CEO of the ECB was at the book launch?
What was he like? What are you doing here?
It's mayhem. We had a Patreon on this sort of topic and more generally on the IPL. I think it's from Sapta Garish, who asks, why is it that the IPL is still thought of as an interruption to normal cricket? It's a known fact that the IPL is a behemoth, not just due to the massive payoffs to the players, but also due to the immense popularity. And it's one of the main reasons the sport itself has evolved to the next level. I believe the IPL definitely had a factor in the 5th Test cancellation, but there is nothing to begrudge it for that. I also believe that the loss the ECB is claiming should be fairly looked into. And it goes on to sort of say that it's a shame that the series has kind of ended as a bit of a damp squib. On the IPL front, fellas, are either of you blaming that at all?
Well, I think what he said there is pretty much a very well put way of what I was trying to get across just then, with the fact that it's definitely it's going to have factored in, but also completely reasonably, because like you say, it's like the biggest tournament in the world. So people do just need to kind of accept that a little bit. There's still that rumbling, isn't there? The undercurrent of rumbling of hatred of the IPL, and people do just need to accept that actually it's really good. Just watch it for a bit. You'll get caught up.
Yeah.
Promise.
There are English cricket fans who are, and probably worldwide cricket fans who are just annoyed that their domestic competition isn't as big as the IPL, and they will hate anything around it. There's so many people who probably are so against like the 100, so against the IPL. It just seems all a little bit pathetic, if I'm perfectly honest. Like, I don't really understand why they're just raging against a machine that's been running for what, 14 editions now? Is it the 14th IPL?
Well, something like that. It's been going for a while.
I believe so.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's not a surprise, is it?
Final question.
IPL's in September. Sorry.
Final question we had on this. I don't know if you saw, this is from VJ on Patreon as well, who asked us about Steve Harmison's criticism of the India squad. Did you see this? He basically says it's the death of Test cricket.
Right.
Because India didn't play this match. On a scale of 1 to 10, with 10 being Harmy's right and 1 being why would anyone listen to Steve Harmison? He's a bonkers old man. Where do you sit, Ross?
Probably a 2 or a 3 on that scale.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
So I think what you're saying is that you're not dismissing Steve Harmison out of hand. You want to hear what he has to say.
If that's going to be it, yeah, I would enjoy like an official debate on the death of Test cricket with Steve Harmison versus somebody else. That'd be
Steve, if you're listening, yeah, Max, seriously, it's not the death of Test cricket. This is it.
No, it's sort of, it maybe holds a mirror up to where cricket is at the moment in terms of what people find important. And again, same point. IPL is pretty important, but it's not like, we did also just have 4 really good games of Test cricket that highlighted how good Test cricket is. And everyone was like, oh yeah, Test cricket, I love it. It's great. Packed out. Everyone went. Oval was a sellout on the 5th day. So, it's a bit of a stretch to go, yeah, 4 tests where everybody went, had a really good time, remembered that cricket's really good. England, India put on a brilliant show in a series that had pretty much everything. 1 test got cancelled because turns out COVID's a thing, and there are some more important things in the world than putting a game of cricket on.
Right, yeah, that's the big bit, Max. That is the big bit. COVID actually kills people, and people are just like, it's the death of Test cricket. No, you just don't want people to actually die from this pandemic that we're still living through.
Ross, that sounds like you've gone down on your scale from 3. I
think Max,
gone down to 1.
Yeah, let's go straight into the 1 category. Isn't it? I thought, yeah.
Oh, do you want to actually talk about the Test series that was played? I think we've.
Oh yeah, that's what we were supposed to do, there, weren't we?
Yeah, we were. How do we want to do this? How do we want to do this? Do we want to revisit our predictions? Do we want to give all the players a mark out of 5? Do we want to pick our Composite 11? Do we want to do a combination of all those different things? Max, you start.
Why don't we start by revisiting some predictions and see if we think how those have held up.
That sounds like a good idea. So, who remembers their prediction, Ross?
Did I say that Ashwin would be top wicket taker? That's gone pretty well.
Max. No, I mean, like, let's do scorelines first, Ross. What did you think for the scoreline?
I thought it was going to be 3-1 to India. I thought that we'd lose a game to rain, and I thought that India would be just too powerful for us. I thought that was going to be the case. So 2-1 India was pretty close.
Yeah, Max, what did you think?
I very admirably went for a 3-2 India win on the hope that we wouldn't have a draw and that rain wouldn't appear. But obviously this is England. But yeah, I mean, we weren't a million miles away from that being a potential final result. But yeah.
You got the margin of victory, right?
Yeah,
I said 3-1 as well. If we go into a little bit more detail, Ross, what did you think the difference between the 2 teams was ultimately? I mean, it's a 2-1 that could have been a 3-1 if they played the final day at Trent Bridge. I think, I'm not sure. I think India would have been the favourites for the final test. That would have been another opportunity to get 3-1. So I think we're the moral victors here. Max is wrong. What was the difference between the 2 sides?
Ability, really. I think in terms of, I'm going to be honest about it. I think in terms of India's bowling lineup, India had their first bowling lineup, right? They had Shami, they had Bumrah, they had Siraj, they had Jadeja. I mean, Jadeja's now first choice pick over Ashwin for some reason that Kohli loves, and he's been proven right. Shardul Thakur's in there, and he's obviously better than Chris Wokes and Ben Stokes, etc., because he makes things happen. But I think England really, really missed their frontline seamers because we can't talk about the batting. The batting is so bad, and even on both teams, like there's about 3 batsmen in each team who you're just like, yeah, these guys can hit some runs. The rest is an absolute lottery every time they go out to bat.
Yeah, I'd agree with that. I think that this was a bowler series, and India bowled better. I think the 2 key moments where India had to do something with the ball on the final day at Lords and on the final day at the Oval, both on flat pitches where I think on both occasions there'd been like 1,000 runs scored in the match before them. And Siraj and Bumrah did it at Lords, didn't they? And then Bumrah did it again in a different way at the Oval. I mean, Bumrah, I think, was probably player of the series overall for those bowling performances to get Robinson with that slower ball at Lords, but then to in a completely different way get the ball reversing and blast through Ollie Pope and Bairstow in maybe the spell of the whole series on the final day at the Oval. And I don't think there was really a point where England performed to that level. I mean, Joe Root, Max, spoke a lot after the series, didn't he? Or a lot. He spoke in the press conference after the series about how England weren't very good at recognising the key moments and actually had a few half-hour spells that lost them the series ultimately over the match. When it is, I mean, it's reasonably fine margins. Is there anything that England could have done, or should have done differently? When they were losing at Lords, for example, or when they were losing at the Oval, or possibly with the ball on that long third day at the Oval, or on the first day at Lords.
Yeah, I think. Well, there were the Lords one springs to mind, doesn't it? With that stand that Bumrah and Shami put together.
Ooh,
and
yeah.
that was a real sliding doors moment for the series where England just lost it, didn't they? They got carried away. They admitted it themselves, they got carried away, and it basically took England's chance of winning that test out of the game, and then it sort of it all went downhill from there, really, didn't it? With England, they still should have been able to bat that out, and India did bowl very well on that day, but I think we can definitely attribute as much blame as we can credit for that one. And yeah, it's stayed a bit at the Oval, but it's a bit more sympathy with that. Perhaps he didn't, Overton didn't get used really at all, did he? I don't know if that was a trust thing or maybe just sort of a lack of ideas and plans, and things do drift a bit sometimes with England. But I think it was probably more about, as you say, India grabbing those opportunities as England letting them slip. I think it was England, just not really in those key moments performing to as high a level, and that is ultimately, I guess, what Ross is saying with the difference of ability. That's where teams can be differentiated, isn't it?
Yeah, I think as well, England's third and fourth bowlers pretty much the whole way through the series were worse than India's, with the possible exception of the Oval. But by that time, James Anderson was bowling like a third or fourth bowler, to be honest. He didn't look too threatening.
I think credit's also got to go elsewhere, though, isn't it? I think on the batting front. On the batting front. I mean, Rohit Sharma in the India series in India, when he played against England, and in this series has actually led from the front. I thought he's actually been really quite good. Yes, he's got out a couple of times hooking the ball when he's supposed to be the best hooker in the world, but never mind. He went through some pretty difficult patches, right? Where he was batting in really unfavourable conditions for an opening batsman. And him and KL Rahul, I thought, applied themselves well, but Rohit in particular, I thought did really well. And it was actually really good to see him hit his first overseas century. I think it was completely deserved, and he's shown how good he actually was, and he really did lead from the front for them.
Yeah, he was great. I mean, KL Rahul was decent, wasn't he? He didn't get that third 50 that I said he wouldn't get. So that's actually a prediction correct for me as well there. We had a question about Rohit Sharma. I'm going to paraphrase this a little bit. It's from Patreon as well. Patreon.com/the cricket pod from VJ. which is about the psychology of the players. And he uses Rohit Sharma as the example, and somebody who has built a defensive game in Test cricket, but also captains the most successful IPL franchise. Does anybody have any psychological insights? Max, you actually did psychology at university, didn't you?
I did, yeah.
What do you think it is that Rohit Sharma does to prepare himself for the difficult spells that Ross is talking about, but also allows him to kind of switch gears and capitalise when the going is a little bit easier?
Well, unfortunately, my psychology degree had no sports psychology element to it, so I'm just going to have to make something up on the spot. But thank you very much anyway.
Is it because of his troubling relationship with his mother, Max, and some like that?
That would be the Freudian, the Freudian side of things. I think he's just worked on it, hasn't he? I mean, it's he's obviously been brilliant in the white ball sphere for a long time, and has that sort of game nailed down. And I guess it's just a question of working, isn't it? Working on your I wouldn't say weaknesses, but areas where you can improve. And it's a mindset, I suppose, of being determined to do that. Some people might be happy and say, okay, I'm really good at this thing, and I'm happy with that. But clearly, he's gone away and been like, I'm going to stamp my mark on Test cricket as well, and I think I would say what we've seen is the fruits of that labour that I have apportioned to Rohit Sharma without being aware of it.
It's interesting with him, isn't it? Because he's 36 years old, and he feels like he's been in and out of that Test team a lot, and you do sort of wonder whether they've maybe missed out on what could have been a brilliant career. I think possibly at points in Rohit Sharma's time with India, there have been a few question marks about how committed he is to Test cricket. I think he's answered that in this series, or this year in general, to be honest. But you do, Ross, think that he should have more than 8 tons for India.
Yeah, I mean, it talks about opportunity and being in the right place at the right time, right? I mean, look at Pakistan and how they've treated Fawad Alam, right? If he was coming in and hit, what is it, 4 centuries since he's come back into
so is
the
that what you're
side?
saying? Fawad Alam is the Pakistani Rohit.
That's exactly what I'm saying. But there is that bit where sometimes selectors do make mistakes, and you have to always also think of a cricketer's career or a sports person's career in the fact that they are going to go through peaks and troughs, and actually being amazing at ODI cricket and then being amazing and leading T20 cricket does take a bit of a different skill set. And I think you do get better as a batsman as you get older. There's probably not a sweet spot when you get to 55 and you're an amazing batsman, but there is that bit where you understand your game, your eyes are still there, and you've still got kind of the hunger to play for it. But I just think that some people have that innate talent and some people don't. We'll soon find out if someone like Zach Crawley has the innate talent to actually build a defensive game in the Test arena. Not sure who deserves a second chance at this point in time, along with some of the other England players and some of the other Indian players, really. But credit has to go to Rohit Sharma. What a performance, and what a cricketer.
The only other player, and we've talked about him a lot, that really deserves a mention is Joe Root, who scored a bazillion runs, an average of 94 across the series. It's a shame, isn't it? I think that one of the big losers from this match being called off is Joe Root's pursuit of the all-time calendar year runs total. I think he's 300 or so behind. What does he have? 2 or 3 Ashes tests now to overhaul that, which makes it a little bit more difficult. And you have to say, though, for batters in English conditions, that performance from Root against that bowling lineup has got to be up there with some of the best we've seen. It might not be Steve Smith 2019, but I think it's at least...
It looked better.
It looked a lot better, yeah. I enjoyed it more, probably, overall. That's what matters, isn't it? It was better than Steve Smith in 2019, based on how much we enjoyed it.
Yep.
So yeah, well done, Joe. He is the number 1 batter in the world according to the ICC rankings. Would anyone have anyone else above him at this point in time?
Nah.
No, I don't think I would either. If he can get 100 down under, it would be a phenomenal year. He'd have done centuries in Sri Lanka, India, England, and Australia, which are probably the most diverse areas that you can play the game in. So fingers crossed that happens. Final thing, should we put together a composite 11? People like composite 11s of the two sides. So opening the batting, Rory Burns and Rohit Sharma.
Yeah.
Look, if KL Rahul had got that
want to have the left
50,
hand. You want the left hand right hand combination at the top.
I
Definitely.
just don't think KL Rahul was consistent enough across the series. You meant the left hand, right hand's a great point, Ross. And also, I just don't want to pick KL Rahul. So that's it. Number 3. Who was the best number 3 in the series? Who did we have? England had about 4 number 3s.
David Milan ended in that position, didn't he? Zach Crawley was in that position before, but I think Pujara has to get it.
Sneaked it, isn't he?
Pujara,
He's scraped in there.
And batting at 4, Joe Root.
Yeah,
it's got to be Joe Root.
Yeah, and captain, I think probably.
Well, no, I put Rohit Sharma's probably captain, but yeah, that's fine.
Okay, right, yeah, batting at 5.
Are we not shunting Kohli down to 5 with his excellent average?
He did runs.
Yeah, but how many of
England's
England's
runs than KL
did
Rahul,
England's number 5s? Did England's number 5 score any runs?
Johnny Bairstow scored.
I tell you what.
Bairstow outscored Kohli.
I think as much as we love taking the mick on this, I thought Kohli actually captained brilliantly in this series. I thought there was moments there.
Captaincy.
But that's where you got an issue, mate. I think you do pick Kohli in this team at 5, maybe 6. Maybe protect him a little bit.
Let's have Kohli at 7, specialist captain.
Yeah.
Jadeja can bat 5.
Yeah, Jadeja's in at 5.
Jadeja's in at 5.
Yeah. Let's protect Virat. Just like they protected Rahane.
It's Bairstow v Butler v Pant for the gloves. I can't believe I'm saying this, but it's got to be Bairstow.
No,
it's not even close. Who are you going to get?
Are we doing it on runs? Are we doing it on runs, or are we doing it on
based on ability?
I thought ability with the gloves.
Yeah,
I thought Pant was pretty good by the stumps. Max, you're actually a wicket keeper.
Got 150 in the series.
Yeah, I think he did look pretty good, but he was bad enough with the bat that I think the difference the keeping would make is not enough for me.
So it's Johnny Bairstow.
So we're going to give the ugly duckling old Johnny Bairstow.
I'm afraid so. Yeah.
He's a phenomenal cricketer.
All right, Johnny Bairstow in it.
Johnny Bairstow. Yeah.
And that one catch he took at second slip.
We've got Kohli at 7. Who's batting 8?
Lord Thacker.
You go with Shardul.
The Lord.
Yeah. I guess you need somebody who can make things happen. It wasn't Curran in this series.
Yeah. Robinson at 9.
Robinson at 9.
Robinson was really good, I thought.
And then Bumrah and Siraj.
Yeah, I think it's probably fair.
Yeah,
no Anderson.
I don't think you can argue with that. No, I don't think you do have Anderson.
Oof.
Just for his second innings exploits just left a little to be desired, didn't they?
Yeah,
we need runs down the order. That's why Bumrah's in there, isn't it? So
yeah. Genuine all-rounder at 10.
There we go.
So what do we have there? We've got Rory Burns. He could captain. Rohit Sharma. Pujara. Root.
We've got a lot of captains in this side.
Jadeja at 5. Who was at 6? Bairstow at 6. Kohli at 7, specialist captain. Shardul Thacker at 8. 9, Ollie Robinson, who has had a pretty phenomenal start to his test career. Bumrah at 10. I think Bumrah could maybe go up above Robinson, actually. You know, his ability with the bat, I don't think we can question that anymore. And Siraj, I think we can question his ability with the bat. He's at 11.
And fielding. Yeah, and fielding. We didn't really talk about that too much, did we? Like, he did try to catch a ball with his testicles. Yeah, he did go testicles first. I was just like, I can't believe I've not caught it. Use these, mate.
Right. Anything else anyone wants to say about the series? Jarvo. Does anyone want to talk about Jarvo some more?
No.
Absolutely
the less we talk about Jarvo, the better.
Well, anyone like dickhead?
There's a couple of things I think from my point of view around. One, I got a question around Moeen Ali, and actually Joe Root came out and said he's England's first choice spinner. Ahead of the Ashes. So Jack, I know we kind of texted about this the other day. But do we think that is a big issue, Moeen being their first? I'm not really sure you want Moeen to be your first choice spinner in Australia.
I'm not sure he'll even go.
Anything.
I'm not sure he'll want to go.
Yeah.
Do you reckon?
Why would you want to go?
IPL, go to the World Cup, and then go. I need a break.
He's basically a walking banquet for Steve Smith. It's not going to. Why would you want to go and spend 3 months getting hit around different empty stadiums in Australia by Steve Smith and Marnus Labuschagne? That's not the worst holiday ever.
Jack Leach and Don Bess off you're on the plane.
Well, oh God.
Milan at 3 in Australia. I'm not too worried about that. I actually quite like that. I quite like this. I'm glad that Crawley's been ditched. I think Crawley will end up on the plane to Australia. In fact, I make that bet now. I bet you Zach Crawley is on the plane to Australia.
Well, ironically, Crawley could go the way of Milan, couldn't he, and actually end up being quite good in Australia and not very good in England.
I don't think that will happen. I don't think that we've really seen anything from Zach Crawley to suggest that might happen.
He's quite tall as well.
He's quite tall.
Yeah.
That's the other thing, isn't it? Hamid, they say he'll be rubbish because his hands are too low. So he's got the opposite. He's got the opposite problem. Zach Crawley's too tall for England.
Zach Crawley will be back opening.
Hamid's too short for Australia. So we
Maybe
need
you could do
somebody
that,
in between.
Jack. Maybe you could do that as your next Substack. You could compare the heights of different batsmen and how good they are opening the batting,
Right,
how good they've been. I mean, Ricky Ponting at 5'1" is going to come in very nicely, isn't it?
Tim Dorcom's a short ass.
Yeah, that is true.
That'll get people going in the comments. Right, well played, India. I think is the main thing.
Yeah. And Paul Rahane won't have a swan song, will he? He's not going to get another Test match.
Well, that's the thing about if they play this Test next year, it'll be 2 completely different teams, won't it? I mean, I can't see Hamid making it through Australia, so there'll be maybe the Fridge will be back in. Could be anyone opening the batting for England next year.
That's what I think. It'd be Zach Crawley. Genuinely.
Rahane's gone from India. Pujara's probably, he's 50-50.
Last legs, yeah.
Whether he'll be around. KL Rahul, he might never get 50 again after the run he's on.
Are you prepared to put your money on that? Neck on the line?
No. Thank you very much for watching or listening. If you're listening to the podcast, we're going to be back with some T20 World Cup action. If you're watching on YouTube, that'll be a different video, so go and look for it. Goodbye.
You're listening to the Cricket Podcast.